Hello friend, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are going to be learning how to use the BlackStone well. I got a BlackStone for Christmas from my mother-in-law and I've only cooked one thing on it. I found 4 recipes, actually found more, but I reined it into 4 recipes that we're going to be making today that all look delicious and relatively easy. So the first thing we need to do is actually get the griddle going. I think most of these, if you don't have a griddle and you want to make these recipes, you could go ahead and do these inside on a cast iron. Or if you have a griddle pan, you could make them on the griddle pan. But I got this for Christmas and I want to practice and get good at using this. So I'm going to turn this on relatively high. This first recipe we are going to be making is a Caesar chicken wrap, unlike any Caesar chicken wrap I've ever had before. I thought I had all the ingredients I needed for all these recipes, but when I was getting out the ingredients I needed to make my Caesar dressing, I realized I forgot that I don't have any Worcestershire sauce, which is like the key ingredient to homemade Caesar dressing. So Josh is on the way to my neighbor's house to pick some up for me so we can make a homemade Caesar dressing. This recipe is going to come together so quickly. I figured we might as well make a homemade dressing because homemade Caesar dressing is delicious. But if you have your favorite bottled Caesar dressing, just use that instead. So while Josh is grabbing the Worcestershire sauce, I'm gonna get going on the actual chicken and tortilla part of this chicken tortilla wrap. Griddle's heating up. And the other recipes we're gonna be making, I might as well tell you right now while I can kind of kill a little bit of time. We're gonna make a kielbasa tortellini stir fry with veggies on the BlackStone. We're gonna cook the tortellini on the BlackStone. We're not going to boil them or anything. Everything, once the veggies are chopped, is gonna be cooked out there. We're gonna make what I'm the most excited for, and that is a steak street corn Crunchwrap Supreme. Yum. So we're gonna make the corn salsa portion, kind of street corn salsa portion on the BlackStone. We're gonna make our steak on the BlackStone. We're gonna put it together in a crunch wrap, put that on the BlackStone. Yum. And then the final recipe we're gonna be making is going to be patty melts on the BlackStone. I picked up some really yummy looking sourdough at the store and I have never had a patty melt. I've never made a patty melt. Sounds really good and I think it would be delicious on the BlackStone. I will leave the written recipes down below in the description box along with timestamps because we're gonna make one after the other. And the first thing we're gonna do is this chicken wrap. I have not eaten breakfast or lunch, and so Josh and I are gonna have this for breakfast/lunch today. It is 12:27 right now, so I can tell you how quickly we can get this made up. I have some ground chicken here. I'm gonna make 2 of these. And I'm just gonna put kind of like an eyeball amount that looks like a good amount of chicken. I have 1 pounded chicken here, so I'm probably putting about 1/4 pound of chicken on this tortilla. You could use whatever size flour tortilla. This is not necessarily a recipe. I think this is more of a technique, but I will leave a recipe down below for you. And I'm excited to practice using the griddle outside because I have only used it once and I want to get better at getting comfortable with cleaning it between uses. The only seasonings I'm going to put on here is some black pepper. I love black pepper with Caesar and some salt. And I guess I could have done this one at the same time. So I'm gonna set those aside and I'm gonna get going on my dressing. Josh should be back with that Worcestershire sauce in just a minute. So here I have some pre-grated Parmesan cheese. You use whatever your favorite Parmesan cheese is. I'm gonna put in about equal parts mayo. This is my sister-in-law's recipe. She uses anchovies, but I usually substitute a lot more Worcestershire sauce for the anchovies. Oops. So if you weren't making your own dressing, you would be ready at this point to go ahead and put those chicken patties on the griddle. I'm gonna put a good amount of black pepper just because I love black pepper in my Caesar. Good pinch of salt, garlic. I took one of my garlic pucks out of the freezer and put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds so that it would not be frozen going into this. And then we need the juice. I'm gonna start with half this lemon And then I'm gonna taste it, and then we can add more if we need to add more. You've seen me make this dressing many times. It's so good. And this is obviously way more than we need for our 2 chicken wraps, but this will last in the fridge for some time. So the next couple times we have salad, we can have a Caesar salad. Okay, I can already tell that needs more lemon juice just because it's not kind of runny enough and it's a little too thick. Oh, I can hear Josh. He is here from the neighbors. Perfect timing.
Got it.
Awesome, thank you so much.
No problem.
Look at that, perfect timing. And I just learned you're supposed to shake this really well before you use it.
Yeah, I shook it too.
Oh, you did? Perfect, thank you. I'm probably gonna put a good 1/4 cup in here because I love the flavor of this. Would you also be willing to go downstairs in my soap making stuff? There is a gun thermometer. Would you be willing to grab that for me? I was watching some BlackStone videos and a couple people have actually on the brand of this thermometer. I don't think mine does it. Nope. I have this thermo pin, which I love, and I guess you can get a thermo pin that you can point it, the other end, not the pointy end, but the other end you can point it at your griddle and it'll tell you the temperature. Mine doesn't do that, but I have one of those gun thermometers in my soap making stuff that I could use to point at that griddle and see the temperature on it. So I have my lettuce already pre-washed. This is just some romaine here. We have to taste our dressing. I think we did it. Perfect. That doesn't need any seasoning adjustments. That's pretty rare. I get it on the first try. To my washed lettuce, I'm gonna run a knife through it and give it a good chop. I think I'm gonna chop this a little bit more than I would if I was doing a just Caesar salad as a side dish, because I want it to fit in this wrap. Caesar salad is one of my favorite foods of all time. When I was in high school, this was my afternoon snack. I would make myself a huge Caesar salad and then I would drizzle some balsamic on it, eat it while I was watching Lost. And just so delicious. Josh, are you hungry?
Hello. Yeah.
He just brought me my gun, which I'm gonna put on here because we're gonna bring all that stuff out to the griddle. Got my bowl. I'm gonna put my lettuce in here. I think I could go ahead and dress this because these are only gonna take a minute or so to, well, they'll probably take like 3 minutes to cook, I think. I'll pour some of this dressing on here. Stir that together, maybe a little bit more. I just have the thought right now that some cherry tomatoes on top of this would probably be delicious. That wasn't in the original recipe I'm getting inspired by, so I didn't think about that, but if you have some of those, I'm sure that would be good in here. So now, we've got our salad here. I think we can go out to the griddle and we can cook up our chicken patties. I'm gonna bring out to the griddle, I have a couple spatulas. I got this scraper to clean the griddle, and I've got my thermometer I just got, and then I filled up, because I see people cooking online with it, a squeeze bottle of avocado oil and a squeeze bottle of water. I got these at Walmart for, I think they were like 75 cents each. I did buy online some really big ones, but I thought that they were too big. So I thought these little ones might be nice, but maybe they're not big enough. I don't know, we'll find out together. I can see the griddle is glistening, so I'm sure it's hot enough at this point. Are you the type of person that ideally takes only one trip? That is me. So I did put my griddle under my shade here, just so that you could see it a little bit better. This is feeling incredibly hot. I'm gonna turn this way down. We do not need it 541 degrees Fahrenheit. That is way too hot. What about over here? Because I know that, okay, so 412 toward the outside. I know the middle is the hottest. So I think this is gonna be helpful to figure out how to cook on this thing. So instead of waiting for this center to cool down completely, I'm just gonna go ahead and cook my patties over here. I have my avocado oil. I thought that these would be better than using my glass bottles that I usually keep it in, just in case it drops or something out here. You might be able to see Josh down there. He is working on setting up a better irrigation system for me in the garden while I cook us up some lunch. These aren't going to take very long to cook. Let's check this temperature now. Okay, so it has gone down by almost 100 degrees in the center. Let's check it over here. Yep, about 100 degrees in the center. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it up just a little bit. Medium, I think, is gonna be good. Ooh, that looks good. Got some nice color on it. Okay, that one's not de-sticking yet, so I'm gonna wait a minute on that one. Usually when your meat is nice and seared, it will release easily from whatever it is, whether it's cast iron, enamel cast iron, stainless steel. So usually just waiting for it to fully sear, you don't have to worry about sticking as much. So if I had let that sear a little bit longer, it probably would have flipped even better. This one's done. You probably should have just left this nice and hot. Look at the color we got on that. Okay, this chicken, okay, that's fully cooked. So I think I'm gonna scrape this real quick before I bring that inside. Since we're gonna be cooking a few more recipes, I'm gonna use some water. Okay, that was what I missed last time, was deglazing the griddle. That little bit of chicken that was stuck on there came right up. I have it still on high. I'm gonna let this water evaporate, and I'm gonna go ahead and re-season this so it can be ready for us when we go to do our next recipe. Well, that was incredibly easy. So now all we have to do to finish off this Caesar chicken wrap is we're going to go ahead and get our salad on top. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. So we're basically gonna eat it like a taco. It's kind of like the viral, it's a take on the viral Big Mac tortilla. I don't even know what those are called. I think how I'm gonna finish this, because like I said, when I was in high school, a Caesar salad was my go-to snack with balsamic on the top. You know what I'm gonna put on it instead of balsamic? I have this pomegranate syrup that is incredible. I think I'm gonna add this because that's gonna add a touch of sweetness. Ooh, lid just came off. I think I'm gonna add that to Josh's as well, but not maybe quite as much as I did. And then I have a wedge of Parmesan cheese. We're going to go ahead and put some really beautiful shavings of Parmesan cheese on it.
Oh wow, it does.
Does that look good?
It does.
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Sure, yeah.
It's
Well, I'm biting into it.
It's a chicken Caesar salad wrap with pomegranate molasses or pomegranate syrup on top.
Cool.
Ready?
That's good. Mm-hmm. You know, and I didn't think it was going to roll up very well. It looked like way too much stuff, but
Oops.
this is no problem.
This is so good. Very light, but very filling, I'm sure. We're gonna sit down and eat this, and then we'll get going on the next recipe. That recipe could become my new hyperfixation meal. I just ate all of it. So good. Josh is eating it right now. I have this now prepped in my fridge. I have extra chicken. I have extra tortillas. If you don't have a outdoor griddle, you could easily make that inside. So good. Pomegranate molasses. Do you like the pomegranate molasses in it?
Yeah.
Because it adds a little sweetness to balance the like rich savoriness of the cheese. I added a good amount of salt and pepper to the chicken, seasoned very well. Do you have a preference on which recipe I make next?
I don't.
No, okay, he doesn't care. So I think since I am the most excited about the Crunchwrap Supreme, I think I want to wait till the end to do that. So I think what we'll do now is the patty melt next. I love the idea of a patty melt. I've never made it, and that's what we're gonna make next. Let me get out what I need for that, and then we will make that one up. These patty melts are gonna come together really quickly as well. I think the hardest part was forming the two patties. I just went ahead and formed them, but if you had pre-made patties, you could skip that step entirely. And I am going to brown up some onions to go on this because I think this would be delicious. On the cutting board that I'm gonna bring out with me, I have Montreal steak seasoning. I figured that would be easier than bringing out all the seasonings to make that. I have that, and that'll add really good flavor. And then I have some honey mustard, and I have a few slices of Swiss cheese. We love honey mustard, and I think because these are gonna be very rich with the Swiss cheese and the beef and I'm gonna basically kind of pan fry or griddle our sourdough. I think it will do well with, well, Josh, I could ask you since you're standing right here, would you like honey mustard on your patty melt?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna be Swiss cheese, honey mustard, Montreal steak, patty, and delicious sourdough.
So you found your peanuts.
Yes, I found my peanuts.
Where were they?
They were sitting on the pile of soil by the house. If you were with me yesterday, I could not find my peanut seeds, so I'm gonna plant those after we're done doing all this cooking. Because my goal this year is to grow peanuts so I can make homemade peanut butter, because I think that would just be a fun thing to do. So I did not make this sourdough. I'm just venturing into the world of sourdough. I've made about 4 loaves, but I did not think through enough to get my sourdough made up. I'm trying to pull 4 pieces of sourdough from the center of this so that they fit my patties. That should be good. These are gonna be big patty melts. There's a couple big holes in some of those pieces, so maybe I'll pick the slices that don't have big holes. And then I was thinking, instead of using the avocado oil to kind of fry up my bread, I want to use butter because I love the flavor of butter. So let me grab some butter. We now have all of our components. Let's take this outside. So I'm going to go ahead and start by taking the temperature again. Where are we at? We're at 360. That feels like a great temperature. So I'm going to put a little oil down here for the onions. The onions are going to take the longest. I'm going to add some seasoning. And I've got one of these covers. I'm gonna go ahead and get this covered. Now I wanna get my patties on here. A little bit of oil.
I am having so much fun with this BlackStone. So I am so glad that the weather is getting nicer so we can use this more and more. Now, what I'm definitely learning is that the center of the BlackStone is much, much, much hotter than the outside edge. So what I'm going to do is take that knowledge and use it to my advantage. I have my onions caramelizing there. I have my beef patties getting nice and browned on one side. I went ahead and covered the beef patties because they're so thick. And I'm going to go ahead and take my bread and toast my bread in some butter on the outside edge of the griddle. The griddle is not near as hot as the center, and so I can get everything cooked at about the same time if I put the bread on the outside edge. Now I realized, oops, I forgot to season my patties, so I go ahead and get a little bit of Montreal steak seasoning on there so that we've got good flavor on our beef and our bread and our onions. There you can see we're starting to get some nice brown color on the bread. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these. I do end up putting a little bit more butter on the bottom side of the griddle so that each side of the bread can get nice and toasty. But before I do that, I do top them with some honey mustard. I like to make my own honey mustard. I just take our favorite kind of mustard. This happens to be a grainy mustard, and I usually do about 1 part mustard to 1 part honey. Josh and I love the kind of tanginess contrast with the sweetness of honey mustard. And we both love how honey mustard can kind of cut through the richness of whatever it might be, whether it's like a breakfast sandwich, if you have like egg and cheese and sausage or bacon on it, or a hamburger where you have beef patties and cheese and that really fatty richness that can come with those types of things. We love the contrast of honey mustard. So once we got a good caramelization on the onions, I go ahead and top those onto our beef patties. And then I take our Swiss cheese and I top that on top while our bread continues to toast. And then I top that with the dome so that the cheese can melt and our beef patties can get cooked all the way through.
I grabbed my digital thermometer so I could check the internal temperature. This one is at 140. That one needs to cook a little longer. These will not go to waste. They didn't fit on these burger patties, but I will use these for something else. I think our burgers are done now. So I'm going to set these over here. I think the trick is to deglaze this while it's still hot. So I'm going to go ahead and get some water on here. I just called Josh over. I'm going to go ahead and spray this one more time. The cleaning part was the part I was the most kind of stressed about because it was so different, but it's kind of like if you treat it like a cast iron, then it doesn't quite feel as intimidating if you're used to cooking on cast iron or carbon steel. So I'm gonna get this re-seasoned while we go inside and try our patty melts. Josh is here. So this will be ready for us for the next recipe. I bought this silicone mat to go on this part, and this has been really nice working with these recipes because nothing is slipping around. Josh, would you be willing to carry that in for us?
Yep.
And one reason I love these type of days where I just experiment with a whole bunch of different recipes using one cooking method, especially if it's new to me, is I quickly get comfortable figuring out kind of the tips and tricks for how to use it well. Hopefully these are cooked the way we like it. Do you want me to cut it in half or do you just want to bite into it?
Yeah, let's cut it in half, yeah.
Okay. It's got nice crunch to it. I'm gonna look first. Oh yeah, that looks cooked.
Nice, looks perfect.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What do you think of this?
This is great.
Oh,
You need to eat it over the sink or a plate. The dogs are going to enjoy this on the floor. It's really good. I'll say this is really, really juicy. So
That's
I
so
don't know.
good.
Something about this, maybe because the juice can't drip out or something. I don't know, but it's really juicy.
Well, it gets a really good sear on it because it's so hot that it sears both sides really, really well. And that could be, I guess, because the juices aren't like dripping down when you grill it. You get a lot more of that Maillard caramelization.
And juiciness combined.
So Josh is really enjoying that. He's going to take his half, go back out into the garden, keep working. What I think I like about this recipe and the patty melt is I have bread on hand way more often typically than I have hamburger buns, and I really like that. I really like the honey mustard, the Swiss cheese, and the onions together. Wasn't that really good, that combination?
Yeah.
Yeah. It probably would be good with some ketchup on it too, like that kind of like vinegary bite, because the honey mustard that I have doesn't have a lot of that vinegar flavor to it that sometimes mustard does. So I probably, if I made this again, would add a little bit of ketchup. I love ketchup with my burgers. Very, very good. I would make that again. I probably would not make the patties quite so thick. I probably would make the patties a little bit thinner just because they're very big patties. But if you're making your own patties, you can make them any size you want. And that would get dinner on the table really quickly. You could also at the same time throw on some veggies, and then you would have your vegetable and your protein done at the same time. This next recipe, again, is gonna come together super quickly. The recipe calls for a store-bought Italian dressing. That is gonna be the hardest thing that we're gonna have to do for this recipe, is to make up the Italian dressing. I didn't see any that I wanted to get at the store, so I figured because this recipe is gonna come together so easily, I'll show you how to make up your own Italian dressing if you wanted to do that. But if you have a favorite Italian dressing in your fridge, go ahead and use that instead of making up your own. I have 2 vegetables here. I've got a red pepper and some broccoli rabe. I'm just gonna cut this like this. The recipe didn't actually call for this broccoli, but when I saw it in the store, I thought that would be really good with this. So I'm gonna cut that into bite-sized pieces. Some of these stems I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut in half that are a little bit thicker. And we are going to be cooking up next. This is going to be our vegetable tortellini kielbasa stir fry on the outdoor griddle. So let me get that in the chicken compost, and then I'm just gonna add these onions that we cooked up just a second ago because that would be delicious with this. I have some tortellinis that I got at Costco. The recipe calls for frozen ones. I didn't see frozen ones, so I just picked up the refrigerator ones, and I think that will be fine. And then I got some kielbasa here. I'm just gonna cook up 2 of these. But the cool thing about this recipe, when I saw it, I thought that's so interesting that we're gonna cook a pasta on the griddle. I think I'm just gonna cut these into rounds. And I am gonna need to reread the recipe for the order in which I'm supposed to cook this so that I get my cooking times done. Everything technically is cooked here. The sausage is technically cooked. I guess the pasta's not cooked, but we really just need to warm things through and cook the pasta. I guess we have to cook the pasta. The recipe calls for Olive Garden Italian dressing, so I just Googled a Olive Garden Italian dressing copycat recipe, and I will link this one down below for you as well. We're gonna start with olive oil, and we're gonna do 2 parts olive oil to 1 part vinegar. I love having homemade dressings made on hand so that when I want a quick salad, I can just pull one out of the fridge. And this is a new one to me, and it looks delicious. Now we're gonna add some Parmesan cheese. Hopefully we're getting more in there than on my counter. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of honey. The recipe calls for oregano, parsley, thyme, rosemary, and a couple other spices. I'm just gonna use some of this Green Goddess mix and put the lid on here, shake this up. Oh, I forgot the lemon juice. Gotta add a little lemon juice. And salt and pepper, which are outside now at this point. Just a little squeeze of fresh lemon. I did just move the griddle a little bit so that it's in the shade because it's starting to get a little bit toasty out here. So I have all my components here. I think one of the tricks when using this griddle, especially because you're outside, not inside, is to have everything ready to go for you. So let's check the temperature. What are we looking at? 160. Sorry, 360. Something like this dish we're about to make would be an excellent meal prep meal. And I'm gonna start with a little bit of oil. And I think my broccoli is gonna take the longest to cook. So we're gonna get that on here. And I'm gonna season this again. I just have my Montreal steak. I think when cooking on this, it would be good to have your favorite all seasoning spice out here so you don't have to get a bunch of different things out. And then I'm going to let that kind of char a little bit. I'm gonna add just a touch of water. Put the lid on there. Can we just appreciate the color on that? I've never gotten color on tortellini before, so I love that idea. I was just thinking as I was cooking this up, doing this exact same technique, but with pot stickers and some soy sauce and chili sauce and maybe a little bit of brown sugar and sesame oil would be incredible. The wind is wanting to push my umbrella. So I think everything is done at this point, so we're gonna give this one final shake. This did not even take 5 minutes to cook. So easy. Gonna get some of our dressing on here. So I'm out of water. I'm gonna bring that in, refill it, and we're gonna give this incredible pasta dish a taste test. Look at the color on those tortellini. So Josh is here, he's ready to give this a taste test.
That looks really good. And you cooked that in the BlackStone?
Yep.
Wow.
Do you see how the tortellini have little char bits on it?
Yeah.
I think with this one, we are just gonna grab a fork and go ahead and dive in. So basically what this is, Josh, is it's vegetables, kielbasa, and then I made a copycat Olive Garden Italian dressing, and I put that and finished it on.
What's kielbasa? Is that a cheese?
It's a sausage. It's the sausage.
Oh, okay. Definitely want one of these red peppers. They are looking really good.
And then I added the onions that were left over from the last recipe. So
Nice.
I have a piece of broccoli, a tortellini, and a piece of sausage. It might be pretty hot. Josh
I'm
has.
just gonna go for it.
Okay,
It's not too hot.
not too hot. You like it?
Mm-hmm.
This I thought would be your least favorite for some reason. You're smiling.
I love a big bowl of stuff.
Of pasta and veggies?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. I always have in
Good.
my mind like what order Josh would rank everything.
Yeah,
Wow.
I just love peppers and it tastes really good.
Just the veggies alone with the sausage.
Honestly, just having like the onions and peppers and yeah, it's just a great combo.
Everything's charred up nicely. I think adding the salad dressing at the end is kind of a brilliant idea. And this will make wonderful lunch prep. So this, I think we could enjoy hot or cold. Okay.
Yeah.
The tortellini are good in this, but Josh and I both agree our favorite part is the veggies and sausage. I would do this exact same thing and leave out the tortellini. I think the tortellini are good, but we like the flavor of the veggies and the protein just by themselves. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge, and that is going to be a delicious lunch prep. Now the next recipe is the one that really, when I saw this, I thought I have to give this a try. It is going to be a street corn steak Crunchwrap Supreme. When I was in college, Crunchwrap Supremes homemade were one of my friends and I's go-to dinners. I used to go to their house after school all the time. And one of our go-to dinners was meatloaf and Crunchwrap Supremes. Now we did more of a traditional, we would make it homemade and we would do the traditional Crunchwrap Supreme like you would get at McDonald's with the ground beef and the sour cream and the tomatoes and the lettuce and the cheese. But this one is a completely different take on it and I think it's gonna be delicious. Now this recipe is probably going to be the most labor intensive. It's still super, super easy, but it has a couple different components that we have to make. So we basically started out with the easiest recipe and have been kind of working up towards this one, even though I think this one's gonna be really easy. I have 2 New York steaks here that I got from a local farmer. And what I'm gonna do is get these out of the package. And I'm gonna cut off the kind of excess fat bits that I don't really want to cook up in my steak. These have completely thawed. I took these out of the freezer a day and a half ago. It would be probably easier to cut these if they were still a little bit frozen. Cut these bits off. And then I'm gonna cut this steak as thin as I can get it. If you wanted to make the same recipe but substitute ground beef, you could absolutely do that. I happen to have quite a few steaks in my freezer because I purchase half a cow at a time. So we're gonna use these New York steaks. But I'm sure this would be good with ground beef as well. Okay, so now we have a really thinly beef. This is ready to go out there. I'm gonna cut this little piece off right here. I'm gonna take this corn and this beef out there and we're gonna go fry both of these up. This recipe does not call for tahini, but I was thinking this would be really good with this corn salsa or salad that we're gonna make. So I went ahead and grabbed that. Let's take our temperature of our griddle. I almost think I'm gonna need to turn it up. 160, or I don't know why I keep saying that, 360. I just turned it up a little bit. Now it says it's 575. It couldn't have heated up that quickly. Huh, okay, I think it's hot enough. I'm gonna put a little oil down. I actually didn't fill up my water thing because I didn't think we would need it for this. Ooh, that's a lot of oil. That was very easy. So let's go inside and put together our crunch wraps. We still have to turn our corn into our corn salsa, and we get to, I'm gonna put the salt and pepper away because I've seasoned everything really well. I don't wanna over season things. So we need to make this into a corn salsa. So I'm just gonna put this over here, and we're gonna add some mayo because we're basically making like a street corn salsa. I keep wanting to say salsa, but it's like salad, topping, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna wipe this up. But you can see how we got such a beautiful color on our corn. And if you don't like mayo, go ahead and add Greek yogurt to this or sour cream. To our corn, I'm gonna add just a little bit of chipotle for flavor. I don't want to add too much because I don't want it to be too spicy. I have some cilantro here. This is not the right knife to do this, but this is the clean knife I have. So I'm gonna go ahead and just chop up this cilantro pretty fine. I would highly recommend a chef's knife for this, not a bread knife. But sometimes you just gotta use what you have. We're gonna add all of that to there. I wanna squeeze the juice of probably half this lime. Yeah, we definitely need some brightness to this. And then we need to add some cheese. Now this is a new brand I have never tried before. I'm not sure how to open it. It's a local brand and it's made in Oregon. So when I saw this at the store, I thought I was gonna go ahead and give it a try. I don't know the brand that I normally buy. Normally I buy this at Winco, but I was at New Seasons. So I'm just gonna cut a little piece off and give this little piece a try. I love cheese. Very mild, very rich at the end. Creamy. It's not as dry as the brand I normally buy. If you're wondering what these are graham crackers. I had a request this morning when I got up for crackers. We didn't have any crackers in our house. So this morning we spent some time as a family making homemade graham crackers, which was a lot of fun. So if you've never bought this kind of cheese before, it's kind of like a feta in that it crumbles and it's a fresh cheese and it's kind of salty like feta. It does not have as sharp of a flavor as feta does. And you just kind of crumble it with a fork. I'm gonna get that in there. I don't want any huge chunks. This adds a nice saltiness to it. That's why I didn't want to add any more salt until I give it a try. Ooh, I just smelled that cilantro from hitting the heat of the corn. Yum. Okay, that's probably good. I may need to add a little more mayo. I'm not measuring anything, I'm just kind of going with what looks right, and then I'll taste and adjust as needed. But the recipe that I will link for you does have written measurements on everything. That is so sweet and delicious. I do think it needs a touch more lime. Wow, that alone, serve that up in a bowl with a bowl of chips, and it would be gone in no time. This would make a really good like football dip or summer dip. I'm sure it'd be really good cold too if you chilled this. Right now it's kind of warm. I am gonna make up one of these crunch wraps right now so we can, Josh and I can share one. I'm gonna bring this out to the garden so he can give this a try. But the nice thing is I obviously made way more than what we'll make one, so I can make up more later for when we definitely are gonna want another one of these because I'm sure they're gonna be delicious. I will let you know though if they are once they're cooked up. So here we've got a burrito-sized tortilla and a fajita-sized tortilla. And if you've never made a crunch wrap, you also need a tostada. And they're so easy to make. That one's broken. I'm gonna try to get one that's not broken. We have all of our components here. I have some sharp cheddar cheese. I thought would be good on this, and sour cream. This idea has gotten my creativity thinking of all the different variations of crunch wraps you could make. I had never really thought of different variations of crunch wraps until I saw this recipe. So we're gonna start with our steak, and of course, you could season that steak up however you want. If I had some taco seasoning, I would have put that on here when I fried it up, but I am out right now, so that's why I just used that Montreal steak. I'm gonna add a little bit of cheese as a glue. Now we're gonna add our corn. You know what I was gonna do? To make this a little bit creamier, I was gonna add just a bit of sour cream. Now we're gonna add our corn. We're gonna top that with a tortilla, then we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna go take this out to the BlackStone. Ooh, a little dark. Perfect. So let's go ahead and cut this in half. That's what it looks like on the inside. First attempt, you can see I did not get it melty, but I'm still gonna go bring this to Josh and we're gonna go give this a taste test. I figured I could bring him a little snack out in the garden, and I wanna show you this. I am slowly working on hardening off all of my tomatoes and peppers and flowers so that we can put these in the garden here shortly. If you're new around here, I'm a home cook who likes to experiment with new recipes and has a pretty large garden. And I share that journey along the cooking journey with you. And Josh right now is out here working in my garden. He is completely refiguring the irrigation. I've got a lot of work I need to do out here, but today was the day for cooking experiments. Oh my gosh, I love it. Wow, Josh, that looks so good.
Yeah, so I've overhauled it a little bit because we had initially a T coming out of the ground and a ring going all the way around the whole thing, which on paper seemed okay, but
no, this is better.
the sprayers were like the sprayers, well, they cause disease, I suppose, but also they were really hard to get fine-tuned to where the whole bed was getting watered, because any change in pressure, which our well changes the pressure quite frequently, would change how much they dispersed.
And is that a shutoff valve right there?
Yeah, so now what I'm doing is I'm coming up with just a normal elbow. There's a shutoff on each bed, and then this will go, basically the 1/2 inch will go just to the end, and then from the end we'll just have a drip line, or I think 5 drip lines seems pretty good.
Yeah.
You can always, if you need to for some reason, add additional ones. You just have to hole punch it. 6-inch spaced drips, so it should be good coverage.
This is gonna be so nice that he put a shutoff valve, because this bed in particular is a potato bed, and I'll be able to shut the water off to my potatoes 2 weeks before harvest.
Yep, but I'm gonna do this to every bed.
Nice.
We're doing them all.
I'm
It's
very
gonna
excited.
take a while, I
I'm
think.
very excited about it. Okay, so what this is a street corn taco crunch wrap supreme.
Nice.
Steak street corn taco.
Steak.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ready?
Yep. Yeah, it's good. Nice and crunchy. Mm-hmm. Is this a little bit of cracked corn, kind of? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We love us some cracked corn.
There is such a good salty balance with the sweetness of the corn and the saltiness of the tostada in there with the crunch. The only thing I would change is next time I need to do lower and slower so the cheese melts. Because if you notice the cheese isn't totally melted, I think my griddle was too hot.
Oh, yeah. It's great though. Nice little snack. Little pick me up.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask Josh what his favorite of these recipes were, and then I'll let you know what mine are. I wanna know what Josh's are before I say my opinion.
Okay, I think crunch wrap. Maybe it's because it's fresh in the mind, but it's also nice and clean and tasty. That's probably one.
What do you mean clean?
Like, because it's just a tortilla
Oh.
and finger food wise.
I see, okay. That makes sense.
Then probably the smash burger, or the, what was it?
Patty melt?
Patty melt. That
Okay.
was good. Only second, probably because of it's harder to hold with your hands, but very tasty. Third would be probably, what was the first one again?
The Caesar
The
salad
oh, yeah, the
wrap.
Caesar salad. That one was really good. And fourth would be the tortellini.
Okay.
Not because I didn't like it. I did like it.
You did like it. I
did
was
like
surprised
it.
how much you liked it.
But it was still, you know,
Out of the other ones you would rather.
all four, it's number 4.
I think my order is actually the Caesar chicken thing. Caesar chicken wrap.
You do like Caesar.
So good. I will be making that, and I have more chicken, and I have more dressing and more lettuce. That this summer, especially when the lettuce and tomato is coming out of the garden, would be so easy and delicious. And then probably the crunch wrap, because I love a good crunch wrap, but just melting it a little bit, or lower and slower so the cheese melts. And then the patty melt, and then the tortellini. And the only thing about the tortellini is I think if it was just veggies and meat, I probably would have liked it a little bit better.
Yeah.
It was the flavor was good. I will make that again, but I will like the technique where you make the salad dressing, throw that on the top of the veggies and meat, because I could just pick a bunch of stuff when the veggies are coming out of the garden, cook up some meat. He's eating more of the Crunchwrap Supreme, which is good. I'm happy for you to eat it. And then we would have a delicious, easy dinner. And I always have a freezer full of meat because I buy quite a bit of meat from local farmers in bulk. So that was fun.
Yeah, great.
I really feel like I'm getting a handle on how to use the BlackStone now and clean it. The cleaning part was the part that I was the most intimidated about, but I think I got that down. So what I'm gonna do now is go get changed, and I've got a bunch of work I need to do out here with Josh. We already have meal prepped, dinner's ready, lunch is ready, and I'm good to go. So if you wanna watch more videos, if you wanna see how to make like a traditional crunch wrap, let me put that video here, and a garden video, let me put one there. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.